Sandy here from Rain Country Homestead. God is good all the time. And I need to make myself some new tea bags for a couple of reasons. One is because a couple of mine went missing. I'm thinking I might have accidentally got thrown out. But that's okay because I need to make some with a bigger casing for the drawstring. Now the reason I make my own tea bags and don't just use the little metal kind is because I can't find one big enough for a teapot like this, because I like to make a whole quart of tea at a time. Now, what I recommend is that you find yourself some organic cotton fabric. This is 100% cotton, but I do not believe it's organic. So I have to just kind of take my chances with this, wash it and put some vinegar on it and wash it again. And you have to keep in mind that if you're picking a pretty fabric because you like the way it looks, it's not going to stay that way. It's going to turn brown after the first use. That's just the way it is. I want to show you the size I have cut out. This isn't a pattern, I just kind of guessed. So this is 11 inches by 5.5 inches piece that I have here. And I have 2 of these cut out. So what you want to do is you want to fold it and you're going to stitch up your edges on the sides. I'm going to use a narrow zigzag stitch, but I'm going to make it kind of a tight stitch. A little bit tight, a little tighter than that. I'm just going to go all the way up. It's just super easy to do. I really wouldn't even consider doing a video like this except for people ask me for it. Got to do it and get the information out there because boy, this is, you know, making your own tea, especially from what you grow, and then having reusable tea bags is really the way to go. So notice that I started from the folded edge and worked up. I'm going to do the same thing from this side so that it stays even. Yep, making sure I lock my stitches down, both at the beginning and at the end. I'm doing something just a little bit different than I did with my last tea bags. I'm going to throw a zigzag stitch. I'm going to set this on 2. And I'm just using the thread that's in here because again, it's not going to stay this color anyway. It's all going to be brown when it's all done. I'm going to throw a zigzag stitch all the way around this edge. And I'll show it to you. I'll show it up close so you can see how narrow it is. This is what I'm using. You can do it however you want. You can do a wider stitch and have it be even tighter than that. Whatever you feel you need to do. The last tea bags I made, I actually folded them under twice so there were no raw edges. But I just don't want that much bulk because part of the reason I need to remake these is because the issues I was having with the drawstring. Instead of starting along where one of the seams are, I'm going to start here. And see how wide I'm making this? How far over I'm folding it? I'm going to stitch right over the top of that. I want to keep this nice and wide. And the reason why, and this is what I found in my last ones, when the tea bag is wet and you're trying to open it up so you can empty out all the used tea, it's very hard if this just fits, if your drawstring just fits in there. So I wanted to make a looser casing for the drawstring. So this is the other reason why I needed to make some new tea bags. Get it going. I'm going to reverse for a few stitches just to lock it down. And now I'm going to sew all the way around, following that same stitch that I had, making sure that my casing stays even in size all the way around. You can choose to pin it if you want. Okay, I'm getting back to where I started and I can see very easily because of all this thick layer of stitching. And I'm right here is where I'm going to stop. I want to leave plenty of space here. And this is why one of the reasons why I wanted to do this way, with the zigzag stitch going all the way around, because I'm just going to leave this open. This is just one way to do it, very easy way. The other way you can do it, it'd be a little more complicated, but might work better, if you so choose, is to hem this around all the way. I mean, just go ahead and fold your casing over, stitch it down. But before you do that, make a hole here and then stitch around it with a zigzag stitch. In fact, maybe I'll do my next one that way. I'll do 2 today so you can see a couple of different methods to do it. But I'm going to put my piece of a yarn that I'm going to use through there. But first, let me go ahead and make that second one. And what I'm going to do is, before I even start on that, I'm going to go ahead and make my hole. And this one I will do on the outside. So I want to figure out about where that hole needs to be. So we'll put it about right here. Okay, and so I'm just going to do a nice, very tight zigzag stitch. And if you hear extra noise, it's because I'm going to have a bobbin winding while I'm doing this. Okay, so I'm going to just move all the way around this. I'm just doing this more in a rectangle. This isn't even in the center, but it's good enough, right? Just a tea bag. It's important you do that first if you're going to use this method before you sew anything else together. And then make sure you can use a seam ripper. Fold that over, stick your seam ripper in, and rip it through. And then you've got a nice little hole there that will naturally stretch as you go to put your drawstring in there. Okay, so now I'm going to fold this and stitch down these sides. Okay, so now I'm going to fold it. And now I don't have to worry about leaving a space open. And I might as well go ahead. I'm going to loosen the stitch up because I don't need it tight. I'm going to go ahead and fold this over like that. And then stitch it down so it's doubled over and there's not going to be any raw edges. And I'm going to continue to use a zigzag stitch, and I'm starting where the hole is. And the reason I'm doing that is so I know, instead of starting on the seam, I want to make sure I'm getting that the width of this casing correct, so that when I come back around to where the hole is, it doesn't end up being too narrow. It's really important. So you want to keep that hole right where it needs to be. Okay, so you're just folding this over as you go. You can iron it down is another thing you can do. Take that extra step to iron it down just to make sure that it turns out the way you want it size-wise, and you don't get off track in your stitching. Because this, I think, to me, it takes just about as long either way. Well, no, it takes longer to iron it because then you have to wait for your iron to heat up. It's a small little thing I'm working on here, so that makes it a little bit more difficult than if I'm just putting the casing on a skirt or a pair of pants or something like that. Now, my fabric may not be 100% organic, but this yarn is 100% organic. I'm actually going to use this color. This is the yarn that it's cotton, and you want to make sure you use cotton and not a polyester or acrylic, anything like that, because you may have issues with it melting. Plus, I'd worry about the toxicity of that. I think that even an unorganic cotton would be safer as far as that goes than an acrylic yarn. Since it's going to turn brown anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use this brown. Again, you can use whatever you want for a drawstring. There's all kinds of things you could put through there. For me, I like to use this, but this alone is too thin, and I tried it before and then it tears too easily. So I'm going to crochet myself a drawstring. Wanting to make sure that not only does it come all the way around, that I have a little bit extra to spare, because I'm going to I want enough to tie a knot in when I get, once I get it through there. I'm just going to put a safety pin on the end. You want to make sure your safety pin is the right size that will fit through your drawstring. Now, if it's this particular one where you got the hole like this and it feels a little too tight, it'll stretch. Just keep pushing that safety pin through there until it stretches out. And then just thread it through. And you might have to kind of open that up when you get to where the seam is to get around it. And coming back through the other side. Okay, now when you get to this point, if you so choose, you can add some kind of weight to the outside. You know, a bead of some sort, a glass bead or something. You don't want plastic, so it will stay weighted on the outside. I used to do that. What I ended up just liking better was because then it would just, the tea would wick out and then drip all over the stove, all over the wood stove. So what I do is I just stick the whole bag into the teapot. I'm just going to tie these two ends together. Now you put a little tassel on there if you want. Again, for me, because no one's really going to see this, so who cares what it looks like. I'm just going to clip that off. Then what I do is I fill this up with whatever herbs I want in my tea that night, and then just pull it tight, drop it into your teapot, and then fill it up with water, and then brew your tea. So there's that. Now here's this other one that I made without the hole, and honestly this one, this other one that I just did, that one actually is nicer. This one's slightly less complicated, but since I did that zigzag all the way around, that's going to hold that fabric in place, so I'm not going to worry about once I get this in here. I like to have several of these on hand because I like to give them a little bit of time to dry. I squeeze out the rest of the tea, give them time to dry, because it makes it easier to open up and get all the tea out. And then what I do with the leftover tea is then I just go throw it in my garden. I throw it in my potted plants usually, but anywhere in the garden, I just let it compost. And you know, it actually makes a good mulch just to put right on top. So natural fabrics, natural yarns, or cordage, whatever kind of cordage if you buy something that's pre-made instead of a crocheted thing like this, find something that's all natural. Remember, this is going to go into your tea. Okay, so there you have it. That's how you make your own reusable homemade tea bags. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.